And Sean, this is really going to be an interesting psychological battle because these two, of course, playing in the first phase, both had their chance to win that match. Who do you think really has the mental edge here?
You know, it's going to be very difficult. I think the experience of Pierre-Luc Hinse of being in his second Olympic tryouts will be something he can use to his advantage. But Michael Landers is so strong and so confident. I think he'll put constant pressure on the Canadian. So here we go.
One thing to watch during this match is Michael Landers loves to push the pace. He loves to come to the table and serve extremely quickly, especially when he's on a roll.
You know, Han, as a player, can you talk about what type of tactical changes might take place when you have to play a person a second time in a competition?
Well, you really want to look at what mistakes you made the first time because obviously both players played their game. They didn't over-adjust to the other player. I think Michael, when he had the chance to put the match away, just got a little bit loose, made a few mental errors, and he's going to be really having to refocus and keep his focus through the entire match this time around.
And I'm sure one of his coaches, he's got a number of people here supporting him, but Ernesto Ebuan probably watched the match between Andre Ho and Pierre-Luc Hinse in the final to pull some of the tactics that Andre was successful with.
There's a little bit of a difference, of course, between the styles of Michael Landers and Andre Ho, in that Andre really showed a lot of ball control close to the table, was able to soak up Pierre-Luc's attacks in that match. That's not something that Michael traditionally is comfortable with. He likes to be on the attack, as you can see there.
Definitely, Michael's offense is at a higher level than his all-round controller. Actually, we call it defense, though he's not leaving the table.
Pierre-Luc, of course, will want to pick up right where he left off in his last match against Michael Landers, where he looked firmly in control, getting these openings, just as he did there, and controlling the play. Really just not making any high-risk shots, just controlling the play, heavy spin close to the table. Michael Landers is going to want to win those rallies. What he wants to do, what's really key about playing against Pierre-Luc as a player, is Pierre-Luc's not going to take a lot of risks. He's going to play very solid, and what you want to do is make him pay for not taking risks. You want to take the match to him and really put the pressure on him, make him try to do something else. And very rarely does Pierre-Luc actually step up and take those risks as a player.
It often seems like he just likes to sit back to see if his control game is enough. And then if for some reason you start getting the ball through him, then he'll step it up at least one notch. But Michael has the shot-making ability to get the ball through him. That's the thing. It's whether he can take a good shot on that first ball or if he's actually a little bit off balance.
And we saw that against Andre Ho when Andre was really taking the game to Pierre-Luc. Pierre-Luc didn't really have much of an answer. He couldn't step up his game another 2 gears. He kept trying to play the same control game, and if Michael can do that, he has a very good chance.
First game always critical in these best-of-7 matches to get the early lead.
Pierre-Luc with very good control there, keeping the return short, forcing Michael to take a risk.
And at this stage of the tournament, with 3 Americans in the semis and 1 Canadian, the hopes are really on Pierre-Luc's shoulders in order to get that second spot. And there we have it, game number 1 to Pierre-Luc Hinse of Canada, 11-6 over Michael Landers. Now the players will have a short break get some advice from their coaches. Okay, so putting the coaching cap on Han. If you're Pierre-Luc's coach, what are you telling him?
And Hinse is really in the driver's seat here. He's really picked up where he left off. As a coach, you need to make sure that he stays disciplined. Obviously, this sort of controlled discipline game is working for him because of the technique of the two players. Pierre-Luc's much better inside the table. And when he gets that first heavy spin shot, I feel like there's very little Michael can do, and he can really control the match. He's going to get into trouble if he tries to get into a slugfest with Michael Anders, and Michael Anders' shot-making ability can come into the equation. So really, I just want him to stay disciplined here.
And on the other side of the table with Michael Anders, if you're Ernesto, what would you mention?
He needs to take a little bit more risk, especially in the serve and return game. He needs to open the match up. So he really needs to open the match up, not play this kind of short stuff with Pierre-Luc, and just turn the match into that slugfest I was talking about. Both players really going mid-distance and taking it to each other.
All right, we're right about to start with game number 2. Pierre-Luc Hinse to serve.
Good spin from Hinse, taking control of the point early with that opening. As soon as he gets that spin opening, he's really in control of the point.
Slightly different result in their first outing. Michael actually had a wonderful back barrier chopping retrieve that caught Pierre a little flat-footed and looped it in the net. This time he played a much safer ball and just kept it in play and over the net, knowing that going for a winner probably isn't quite necessary.
And Landers losing both points on that early exchange on his serve is really big because he really feeds off his service game. He needs to keep taking advantage of his serve when he gets the chance.
Pierre-Luc starting out at a 5-0 lead, something Michael definitely doesn't want to have get any further away, catching him out on the forehand side.
If I were Michael at this point, I would go with something aggressive. I would go with an aggressive fast serve at this point because he's not winning the exchanges inside the table. He's just losing immediately off those exchanges, and Pierre-Luc is just jumping on him. Looks like persisting with the short serves.
That was a great step around there on the forehand. Michael definitely needs to get his forehand more into play and almost force it at every opportunity. The problem is when you're trailing 6-1, or at least by 5 points, it gives the opponent such a luxury of doing almost anything they want because they don't fear missing the ball.
There you see Hinse is so good at taking the return, especially inside the table, and taking it quick and really jamming you. He really uses the rotation well.
One thing yesterday that you mentioned, Han, was Pierre-Luc's ability to stay over the table with his backhand loops and almost take time out of the shot. Clearly he's been doing that so far in game number 2, which is just putting so much pressure on Michael to make a big shot and then get ready so quickly, reducing the reaction time.
Deceptive serve there from Michael. Pierre-Luc just misreading it.
There's that forehand that Michael needs to get forced in.
And Michael really needs to turn this match into a more physical match rather than a more technical match. There, he's really playing a physical game, forcing that forehand, as you mentioned, Sean, putting a lot of spin on that ball. And he needs to continue doing that because Pierre-Luc is just going to continue control and play somewhat passively.
See if he could get these serve returns a little deeper. Either needs to be really deep or really short, but not in the center, because otherwise Pierre-Luc is going to have no problem with that first attack by varying the placement. Excellent ball control by the Canadian.
And even though Michael Landers lost that point, Sean, I feel like that's a return that's better suited for him. He was able to get into the point with that sort of return rather than floating one sort of into the middle of the table.
It seems right now like Pierre-Luc is just controlling the angles and controlling the depth of the ball, forcing Michael to really be a little bit more handcuffed. Oh, another wonderful chop from the backcourt. I'm not sure where you go to practice that shot. Maybe coming out of New York with Marty Reisman and some of the other great choppers of yesteryear. Maybe Michael's picked up a couple of tricks and tips from those guys, but that's amazing.
A better return there from Michael Landers, forcing the error.
And sometimes it's just one of those kind of freakish points that can get you right back into the game. Very strong counterattacks from Michael, though he's still trailing. Seems to have a second life right now in this game.
Michael Landers, of course, often fighting back from deficits, as we've seen yesterday in the previous phase of the competition. And again, mounting a strong fight back here, only 1 point away from deucing this game.
The streakiness of some of the games that Michael has played has really been incredible. And there it is. He ties it up at deuce. What a comeback.
And 2 incredible forehand counter loops from Michael Landers in a row from 8-10 down to deuce it.
I just think if he doesn't make that chop, game is over. Oh, and he lobs an edge. That's the second edge that Michael has lobbed. He did the exact same thing in the first Olympic tryouts in a key point. What a change of events here in Cary, North Carolina at the Olympic tryouts. And he takes the game.
Unbelievable comeback there from Michael Landers. Pierre-Luc with a 1-0 lead, and looked like he was in firm control of that game. It looked like he was definitely going on to take a 2-0 lead there. And Michael Landers just with a superb fight back.
This is nothing new for Michael. We have seen him at the Nationals. We've seen him at various tryouts. He had the same thing when he played Young Fan. A great comeback from 10-8 in the 7th game in the first tryout. Let's see if we can listen to a little bit of the action here between his coach Ernesto and Michael.
Because if you go to the forehand side, it might go fast to your forehand. At least you have to recover. You don't need to win the flip. You just need for him not to attack you.
Right.
Okay? Now, again, I want you to drive him away from the middle. To do that, you have to go wide. It's either you go to the middle and wide to the backhand. Okay? After heavy move. After heavy move, go in. Okay?
Let's go.
Come on, mix the serve. Feel the ball.
Now, one thing that we had the luxury of during the first Olympic tryouts that were streamed courtesy of Universal Sports down in Cary last month was to get a chance to hear the coaches give the direct player advice, something you never, it's better than being in the huddle at a football game, or even at a basketball game. So we heard Ernesto explaining to Michael the importance of placing the ball and also getting away from Pierre-Luc's forehand.
And really, that's the book on playing Pierre-Luc. He loves to stay in the middle of the table and control you. And as we said, take that backhand over the table. And what Ernesto is telling Michael Landers to do is to move him away from that, going wide to the forehand or wide to the backhand to get Pierre-Luc away from his comfort zone.
And right now, Michael has started strong in game 3. Such ace.
That momentum swing the last game could prove to be telling in this match.
We saw in the first tournament for the men's trials where Pierre-Luc had a great comeback of his own against Timothy Wong. Oh, and there's a monster forehand. That's what we've kind of grown to expect from Michael. Any type of loose ball, he loves to put it away with force.
And just continuing here on a hot streak at the beginning of this third game. Really, he looks more decisive in his serve and return game now, and Pierre-Luc's the one who's looking more tentative, giving Michael opportunities to open.
You almost wonder if Pierre-Luc is thinking about taking a timeout right now. It's not stopping the bleeding, it's actually reattached the limb, because Michael has just been manhandling him the last 10 points. When Pierre-Luc was 1 point away from really just kind of closing the door on this match.
Of course, Hinse with his experience, as you can see, just continuing to grind away, going with what he knows will work, not trying anything drastic right now. He knows he doesn't have to do anything drastic, he just has to play solid and claw his way back in.
Han, it seems these next 2 to 3 points are going to be so critical, because if Pierre-Luc can somehow manage to tie it up and kind of withstand this barrage of world-class shots that Michael Landers has been putting into play, that psychologically he can pretty much get it back to ground zero and take that fire away from Landers.
And I think that's exactly what he's trying to do, Sean. He's trying to just soak up the pressure, hope that this sort of hot streak ends sooner rather than later. But of course, against a top-class player, Pierre-Luc, as we've said before, he's not going to take those extra risks. He's just going to hope that what he can do is enough. Of course, we saw yesterday that Andre Ho's hot streak did not end at any point, and Pierre-Luc's sort of control game just wasn't enough to close that match out.
It really seems that these North American Olympic qualifying trials that you're never really going to win the big matches keeping it on the table. You've got to take some risks. You've got to go for some shots. Just playing it safe and hoping that the other player is either nervous or misses an easy ball isn't going to happen.
And hopefully Pierre-Luc Hinse realizes that and goes for a little bit of risk in some of the big moments as these matches get close to the end. It's very good control there, very good placement, moving Michael around, backing him away from the table.
The scary thing is when Pierre-Luc gets Landers in the backcourt, you just don't know what Landers is going to pull out of his bag of tricks. Sometimes it's a chop, sometimes it's an edge lob, sometimes it's a counterattack. But he's narrowing the gap now at 7, serving 8.
And as soon as Michael Landers takes his foot off the gas pedal a little bit, gives him some solid but not overly spectacular shots, not a lot of power on that particular forehand, then Pierre-Luc just very solid controlled play.
And Pierre-Luc has evened it up at 8 apiece. Still think Michael's got to feel good considering where he was before he went on this recent tear, although Pierre-Luc is right back at even. Very strong opening by Landers. That's something we really haven't seen him do as much, is force that forehand on the third ball attack. What a great defensive move. Pierre-Luc stayed with that shot all the way. Michael going for the winner, paid the price of not being ready for the return.
Just a great reflex save there from Pierre-Luc. He really didn't know, it didn't really look like he knew much about it. Kind of hit his racket. Credit to him. Great reflexes. Able to control that return, and Michael Landers just not expecting it. 9-9 now in this critical third game. Solid serve and attack, third ball attack from Pierre-Luc Hinse.
He just got exactly what he was looking for. Nothing fancy, nothing special, but well-placed opening loop. Oh, very, very safe opening. Nothing. You got to think that Michael needs to be a lot closer to the table if he's going to counterattack that ball versus being so far back.
And that's the difference between what Michael Landers does and what Andre Ho does. Is that in that situation, when Pierre-Luc has the opening, what Andre Ho we saw did yesterday was stay close to the table and try to control and soak up the pressure. He knows Pierre-Luc's not going to hit a winner by him, and he was able to soak up the pressure and move Pierre-Luc around from close to the table, whereas Michael Landers is looking to back up and counterattack that ball. So what Pierre-Luc did there was to catch him out of position.
hopefully we'll get a chance to listen in on the coaching. Here we go.
But make sure you don't out-battle. Okay? Now, again, go right to the backhand. You gotta keep attacking. You gotta have the first attack in the game. Okay? If you go first, remember, I want to see you block down the line. Right. Okay? Come on, come on. Come on, bro.
Very interesting to have Ernesto mention that he wants Michael to get that first attack. Clearly, if Pierre-Luc Hinse is opening up and moving that ball around, Michael's going to have to play defensive shot in order to get into his offensive rhythm, something that he generally doesn't like to do, and if he can make that first attack, it's so much easier to sustain it.
I think one thing Ernesto wasn't able to touch on was he did mention about blocking Pierre-Luc Hinse's first attack down the line, but Michael needs to stay up. Like right there again, he's not getting forward enough. The ball's bouncing up on him, and he's not close enough to the table. His momentum needs to be right over on top of the ball. And
It's almost a stepping back on the block, almost a floating backwards, which it's just like throwing a baseball. If you're running backwards, you're not going to have much heat on it.
And those two in a row where Pierre-Luc was able to get the opening, and Michael Landers just a little bit too far from the table. But they're a great forehand flip down the line. Pull back within 2 points in the fourth game. Pierre-Luc serving and up 3-1.
Oh, an unlucky break there for Michael after catching a net that Pierre-Luc was able to return.
The first high toss we've seen in a while from Pierre-Luc. He wasn't able to control it, but they're able to get away with it at that point. And Michael Landers really needs to step forward. He really needs to stop backing away when Hinse gets that first opening, because Hinse is not putting a lot of pace on the ball.
It's been such a change in momentum and streakiness after Michael went up 6-1 in the second game and the third game.
He needs to have a short memory here. He let the lead slip away that previous game.
Normally Michael would go cross court on that high forehand. It almost looked like he had to change his mind at the last second, and really not too much angle there. Stepping in, trying to take it down the line. That's a much more comfortable rally for Michael, where he gets that first stronger flip opening and then follows with a forehand versus letting Pierre-Luc get that first attack.
Good rally from Pierre-Luc. One thing to watch is Michael Landers having to return with his backhand. He doesn't like to return serve with his backhand side. It's something that he's working on. But since Pierre-Luc Hinse serves so much short to the forehand, Michael Landers is forced to stay at home and not able to turn the corner to return with the forehand.
A little bit of a forced forehand there. Really seems like Michael's playing an all or nothing offensive game. There's not that middle ground that Pierre-Luc is so strong at, of that constant attack. Well, backhand had a chance, but still not the high percentage shot that you want when you're trailing by that many points.
To your point, Sean, I think I would like to see Michael Landers take a page out of Pierre-Luc Hinse's book, because he has the physical ability to attack 10 balls, 20 balls in a row if he needs to. He has the footwork, and if he doesn't go for too much, he can recover and continuously put pressure on the opponent. A lot of times he goes for a big shot and put himself out of position.
Right now, 9-3, game 4 with Pierre-Luc leading 2-1.
Here's that backhand return that Michael Landers is not extremely comfortable with. He's been forced to go to it.
See the difference in confidence and control off the short game there, with Pierre-Luc taking game number 3 in quite a comfortable way at 11-3. After looking like he was going to run away with the match up 10-8 it was in the second game, Michael came back, went on a huge tear at the beginning of game 3, but Pierre-Luc slowly reeled him in, tied it up at 8, took that game, and now continues to roll like he did in game number 1. So hopefully Michael's able to make some adjustments We'll see if we can get some additional coaching interface here.
Yeah. Look here. Because most of your third lines here and here. You can think we're going this way. Okay? Now, when he does the nose straight, right, like the straight one, don't get the ball straight. Get the ball on the side. Okay, so that the ball's gonna like, go inside. Again, again, you have to believe that it goes long. Sometimes, if you could flip the nose spin with your backhand or you go like that, do that. It's the only way you could get right. You could do it. Believe, come on.
Game number 5. Pierre-Luc Hinse of Canada is leading Michael Landers of New York at the North American 2012 Olympic Game qualifying tournament. I'm Sean O'Neill along with Han Xiao. So right now, what can Michael Landers do? Is there something tactically he can do, physically, mentally?
I think this is the point in the match where he needs to do exactly what he's doing. He's being extremely aggressive. Great rally here. And just great retrieval there. Unbelievable point from Pierre-Luc Hinse from both players, really.
What a change of roles. Normally we see Michael in the backcourt coming up with the goods, but that time Pierre-Luc demonstrating his own defensive skills from the barriers.
And he's been known to do this. He doesn't prefer it, but he has the physical ability to retrieve ball after ball after ball. And you really have to win any match against Pierre-Luc Hinse because he's not going to give it to you.
Well, we've talked about the world-class and higher-level players, their ability not to give away a free point where you have to earn everything. It can be quite frustrating for the younger players when they don't get easy points or when they have a lead and then all of a sudden it slips away.
Of course, in the previous phase of competition, Michael Landers was the one with a 3-1 lead. And Pierre-Luc Hinse was able to fight back from that, so we'll see if Michael Landers can repay the favor here.
Looks like twice Pierre-Luc's had a little bit of slippage with his feet. Hopefully it's not a traction issue.
That's exactly what Michael Landers needs to do this game. Continue with the heavy spin on the forehand side. Not go for too much to put himself out of position.
That's a really nice backhand opening from Landers. It was that directional angle that his coach Ernesto was mentioning, is to take that backhand down the line. Get Pierre-Luc out of the middle of the table and especially out of that backhand-to-backhand exchange.
And Pierre-Luc surprisingly showing a little bit of a lack of focus in some of the points this match, in this particular game, excuse me. They're getting back to his control game, but a couple of loose balls earlier this game, which is surprising for him. A couple of high balls over the middle of the table.
One thing that's really impressed me throughout Michael's career, I've followed him a bit in the junior ranks. It seems when his back is up against the wall is when he plays his most lethal table tennis. When he won his first national title against Samson Dabina, he was also trailing 3-1. And at that point, he realized every point mattered. Before that, he was kind of doing what we saw at the beginning of this game, taking some freewheeling, going for some big shots, being all over the court. But when he realizes he must win that game, we see not a whole different player, but that focus and that consistency seems to go up a level. It's a nice controlled drop shot there versus a crazy cross-court flip that might catch the opponent off guard, but at the same time puts you at a deficit if they make the return.
I agree with that completely, Sean. The other times I played against Michael Landers, every time his back is up against the wall, he actually reverts to a much safer spin game, which is actually his strength. It's times when he goes for out-of-control shots, when he goes for too much, that he puts himself at risk and out of position.
But we'll see right now with Pierre-Luc Hinse continuing to claw back with very safe and controlled topspin balls all over the table. Almost like Pierre-Luc no-risk Hinse. Every time he hits the ball, you know it's probably going on the table. And his footwork and his placement is so strong.
This is an interesting timeout here for Michael Landers. Sean, there's a little bit of a debate always between coaches of do you call a timeout when the opponent is serving or not. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I love listening to the coach because I figure that they're going to have a better view. So let's listen to Ernesto and see exactly what was the logic behind this.
Now, if you decide to push the ball short, make sure you're close to the ball. Don't extend your arm. You have to be close to the ball. Okay, now we have to go up, loop, and then wide to the backhand. Okay, now when you serve, hook to the forehand. The next one, this one. Yeah. Underspin on top spin, okay. And then open up down the line. Just one side. Now, if that doesn't work, give him no spin again to the backhand. Let him flip the ball and go over. Don't worry about if he flipped the ball. That one that we missed, it's our ball. Okay? Aim at the middle. Okay, you could do it. Believe in yourself.
Really interesting exchange there. The one thing that I've always found cool about this duo is that Ernesto always ends the comment on a very motivational, you can do it, or let's do it as a team, and that really seems to help pump Michael up. But it's also at the same time a little bit nervous where he's having to tell him the exact serve to do. What if Hinse does a certain return that you're not expecting? Then you're almost waiting for the perfect return every time.
And there exactly, you saw that Ernesto wanted Michael Landers to pay some attention to how he's going to push the ball, but Pierre-Luc Hinse was coming out with a serve that Michael Landers definitely didn't expect.
Right. Right now, Pierre-Luc 2 points away from gaining his entry to a second finals at this North American Olympic tryouts. We have a total of 3 tournaments. The goal is to win one of 3 of them. And now Pierre-Luc has match point, and I'm sure Michael wishes he had the timeout now, or could use it now, versus what just transpired after that last break.
I think what's interesting is Michael used the exact serves that Ernesto told him to during the timeout, but what he wasn't expecting was the quality of the return. He wasn't expecting the amount of topspin that Pierre-Luc Hinse was able to use.
And Pierre-Luc is through to the second finals, coming in here as the top seed. Michael Landers will have to rely on the 3rd tournament if he wants to earn his way to London. Great comeback in game number 2 for Michael Landers, and an amazingly strong start in game 3, but clearly Pierre-Luc showing that control, that consistency, that level of confidence.